Happy Spiritual Sunday, live from Boca Raton, Florida. So let's get started with our affirmation. For those of you who are here, it's on the screen. For those of you online, remember, we want to keep, yes, consciousness is everything. It's the first words we're going to say. Let's remember the objective. The objective of repeating this every Sunday and as many times as you can during the week is just to help remind us, as you're going to see today very clearly, we need to keep focused on the light. And so that's what we're going to get started with, and then we're going to get into some more details. I hope very inspiring, motivating, but most importantly, that we'll all apply it to its next degree, to its next higher level, so we can enjoy more of the blessings that we have already been given, just waiting to show up in our life. So let's say together, consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Okay, all human beings. So I want to talk about the sounds of war. That phrase came to me because not just what's going on in the world today, but I think it was sparked by that. So I went to Professor Google and I looked up the definition of war, and this is what they say. Struggle between opposing forces for a particular end. The struggle between opposing forces for a particular end usually connotes between nations, countries, and states. So besides that, you and I have been around, at least in America, for a while. The last few decades, we've also heard things like the war on drugs, the war on poverty, everything about war. In fact, for those of you familiar with the Kabbalah Center, we call what most people would consider the room of prayer, whether it's Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever. We don't call it a chapel, a synagogue, etc. Probably in the mid-90s, Rav Berg, my teacher, started to tell us we need to call this the war room. The war room. There was one person that I must share with you what got really bothered. Why are you saying war? Why war? Isn't that adding to the energy of war? So as you'll hear today, I'm going to explain and you'll understand more clearly why we call this place the war room. So let's start with that. Who starts wars? Just think, I'm not looking for an answer because people are listening. Who starts the wars? Who fights them? Who fights wars when you talk about wars around? Even the war on drugs and the war on poverty. I want us to start thinking more Kabbalistically, because you and I have learned that the cause of the physical world is the spiritual world, the metaphysical world. For me, the simplest way to truly grasp that is if you look with your five senses and you see a person going to the refrigerator, take something out, and then eat it. In simple terms, we can already understand that their motivation, we see the physical act, go to the refrigerator, take something out and eat. But what was the motivation? What was the cause of that was in essence something we couldn't see called hunger or thirst. So there's the metaphysical that becomes the cause of the physical. And that's important basis for today's lesson. So we look now not at the external. We can say who fights wars. Okay, this person, that person, who caused the wars? Well, this leader and that leader. But let's be objective, like real Kabbalah Center students. What's the one common factor in every war that takes place in the world? One common factor. Think very simple. People start the war, people fight the war, people want the war, people don't want the war. Everything boils down to people. Everything is about people. So then you and I want to focus on that, because as we can understand the people, and if you're watching us online or you're here in the room, are we not people? But most of us are not involved, we don't think, in a war. But I'm going to show you how we are. So let's, again, think very objective. Why do we behave in a negative way? Why do we take some negative, or we call it a reactive behavior? Why do we do that? And when we stop and think about it, it's why. Because we hear in our head, we hear a voice. We hear the voice. And I wrote down a few things, few possible examples of what that voice says. You can't let them get away with that, so you better yell and scream at them. If they downsize at work, you're going to be the first one out. How are you going to pay your bills? They're trying to take advantage of you, so you better show them that you're better than they are. They don't deserve the promotion. You deserve the promotion. And therefore, you better go around telling all the bad stuff that person's ever done, that you've seen them done to you or to other people, etc. They're threatening me. I feel threatened by them. So I'm going to strike them first before they strike me. Or I have to show I'm in control and threaten them. So if you think about the things that go on in our head, that is the cause of our negative behavior, not the other person. Why do world leaders fight? They're also people, are they not? So why do they fight? The same reasons. They have the same voice in their head telling them these similar things. The only difference is really that when you and I hear that voice and we react, we influence a few people, maybe one, two, maybe even a few. When a world leader who's just a human being has those similar thoughts and wants to be reactive, well, unfortunately, their position allows them to influence, usually not in a good way, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, maybe even billions of people. So the essence is the same. They also have that negative voice that they're responding to. But because of their position, it affects more people directly, overtly. So we want to come to the understanding now. What's the real war? Where is the real war? What is it really all about? It's not about this person did that to me. Those people say that about me. Or world leaders. Oh, look, they're threatening with, I don't know, bombs and this and nuclear plants, whatever it may be. It's never that. The only war, at least according to the Kabbalists, and hopefully as we come to understand this more objectively, the only war has ever been, is, or ever will be, is the war here, between our ears, the war in our own head. In fact, the Kabbalists, some of you have heard the term, the War of Armageddon. The War of Armageddon is supposed to be the final war. Now, obviously, I must have had a past life there because it keeps showing up in my teaching. World War I had a subtitle, The War to End All Wars. So you and I, of course, we know, since the 1920s, there have been no wars in the world because World War I was the war to end all wars, right? No. Why? Because it didn't affect really the real war that goes here between our heads that we call the War of Armageddon, that final war, but Kabbalistically it's called Milchemet Gog uMagog, which really means what? The war of thoughts. The only thing that we have to fight is the thoughts that go in our head, and usually this negative voice. Why? Because like we've shared, what causes a negative action? It first starts with a negative thought. No action takes place without a thought behind it. Now, here's where we could be fooled. We get triggered. Something happens we don't like. Somebody says something we don't like. We hear the news. We see something on the street, out in the world. Something we don't like triggers us. What's then the next thing that happens? We start to hear the thoughts in our head. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? What does it mean to me? And usually that voice is not a very positive one. Walking down the street at night, all by yourself, and you happen to be walking through a dark alley. What most of the time are the thoughts? Uh-oh, I'm all alone, it's late at night, I don't know the area, somebody, heaven forbid, gonna come and attack. Makes us feel real good, right? Feel safe, secure, Peaceful, yes? No. You feel nervous. You're looking everywhere. Every sound, you're jumping out. Every shadow that goes by, the cat runs out, like you see in the movies. But what would happen if we say in our mind, you know what? Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with this, but I'm sure they're friendly people here. And you know, my friend that I'm going to visit, they're probably going to come out and come down this alley to make sure that I know where I'm going. So is that thought going to cause the same tension, the same stress, the same insecurity? No, I'll be at peace. Still a dark alley, still an unfamiliar place, but I'm going to feel more at peace. What changed? Circumstance didn't change. And in fact, I didn't even see my friend yet. Every action is based on a thought. No action. Now, some of you say, oh yeah, sure, right. But we got to remember, what's our affirmation? Consciousness is everything. What are the other types of thought? If a person doesn't have a conscious thought, so we call it unconscious thoughts. So what are our unconscious thoughts? And I think I'm probably 99.99999% over it. But when I grew up, my parents used to tell me, don't go outside with wet hair because you will catch a cold. Now, you hear that enough. Even 50 years later, every now and then, I can still hear that little voice. Now I've gotten to laugh at it. Really? I get it now. But for years, before I came to Kabbalah, every time I'd have wet hair, I would hear that voice. Don't go outside, you'll catch a cold. Don't go outside, you'll catch a cold. It was unconscious. So when you say you or other people, no, they didn't think before they acted. Whatever happened, then they scream and yell, or then they did whatever. They had no thought. Yes, all of their past thoughts, all of that unconscious thought came in, and they just responded the same way they always have. Because we're not going to change our behavior until we stop the unconscious negative thoughts and interject positive, conscious, light-filled thoughts. So we're either, the unconscious thoughts from our past are going to rule our life. And if we act the same way, can we expect different results? No, because that's what they tell us is insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expect different results. So then the war really is between those unconscious thoughts of the past or interjecting the new conscious thoughts, thoughts from our soul, from the light that the Creator put inside of us, from what they call the image and likeness of God. Those thoughts are the greater love, kindness, and compassion. Those are the ones that are more kind and sharing, etc. Those are the ones we want to work with. So we've got to first stop and remember, no behavior. So if you look at, before you turned us on, if you're out there, before you came in the door, what happened yesterday, when you look back, you say, oh, why did I do that? So don't look at, well, because they said or they did. Be a little more desiring to change your destiny. Because if you're going to keep pointing at those people and say they're the reason why you acted that way, then you have no control over your destiny. And unfortunately, history has shown that it's just going to keep repeating again and again. Somebody else will do that, somebody else will do that, somebody else will do the same thing. If a person thinks that they're being taken advantage of and they just react without a new conscious thought of the light that empowers their behavior, then I guarantee you, the rest of their day, they're going to find ways and means to perceive that people are taking advantage of them. The guy on the street, driving down, you know how you like when they're merging together? Tell me nobody could feel, oh, that guy took advantage of me because they snuck up on that lane and then they jumped in the middle. Okay, they don't even know you. They don't know you from any of the 8 billion people on the planet, but what does the voice tell us? They took advantage of me. So like will attract like. If those are the ways we think, then that's what's going to keep happening. What you and I are learning here is how to change our destiny. One, by being more conscious of the thoughts that we haven't thought about. And two, start listening to the voice of our soul and let that voice guide us. Because it's going to bring us greater peace and greater serenity, and also greater clarity. So then every challenge that we have, everything that comes our way, is an opportunity to have war with the negative thoughts and to change our destiny, improve our destiny. Now, how does it work? Because like we're saying, every time there's a challenge, every time you're triggered to feel something in some negative way, we have learned in the center, that's our opportunity. Instead of listening to the voice of what we call that opponent, the negative voice in our head, we have an opportunity to listen to the voice of our soul. Because just briefly, and you can go back and review Kabbalah 1, or if you haven't taken it, I definitely encourage you to take it. There's only two voices in our head. We have no voice of our own. And I know that may be shocking for you, because when I first learned that 30 some odd years ago, I had to think about it. Where did those negative thoughts come from? So you come to understand it's the false impersonator that's injected in our head. It's not me. But when I thought about it, for all my life, till I came to the center, that voice sounded just like my voice. So of course I thought it was me. So I think I have thoughts. No. What the Kabbalists teach us that our brain is just a receiver, like an antenna. It receives thoughts, and there's only two sources of thoughts. The opponent, the negativity, the ego, the selfishness, which is not our true self, but unfortunately, part of what we took on when we came into the physical world, and we took on human physicality. But the divine part of us, the light, is also a broadcast system. And it's constantly broadcasting. Be loving, be kind, be generous, be tolerant, be forgiving, be compassionate. The issue is, which one do we listen to? That's it. So we learn, when we come to the center, these two voices, what is it? Why is it we would listen to the bad voice? And have you ever did a bad habit twice? Oh, let's even go 3 times. You ever did a bad habit 3 times, same one? Yes or yes? Exactly. But when you do it the first time and then guilt, the shame, some negative result, you say to yourself, usually what? I'll never do that again. I'm going to remember how I felt. So what happened? Because that voice that we call the opponent makes us forget. Why? What does he do? What does she do? If you're a woman, it's a female voice. If you're a man, it's a male voice. It's your voice. So we've got to understand the soul gives us the light, sharing, transformational, elevating thoughts that we can apply, we can put into action and lift our life out of the darkness that we're in, whatever level we're on. But until we're 100%, there's always more light to be revealed. So what does the opponent do? The opponent makes us exchange the blessings that our soul wants to give us. That next blessing that the Creator put inside of us that wants to come out. No, that opponent says, no, give me your blessings. I will give you in exchange instant gratification. You're on a diet and you eat that cookie or that piece of cake or that chocolate chip cookie, whatever it is, what do you get right away? Oh, so amazing. Tastes great. And then disappears and now you have guilt. Why did I do that? I was so good. I was on my 4th month of this diet. No, never happened to you, things like that? Oh, yes. Instant gratification is the temptation of this opponent in our head. So we've got to learn to see the big picture. Do you want instant gratification and only temporary fulfillment, or do you want long-term fulfillment? Which means you have to forego that instant gratification. That's our choice. And essentially, that's our only choice. Our only choice. Now, the Bible says a very interesting thing. It's in, I forget the exact place, but it's in the book of Exodus at the splitting of the Red Sea. It says God. And this for me, I didn't get it. It didn't make any sense to me until I came to Kabbalah. God is a man of war. Until you wait. I thought God is supposed to be kind and loving and compassionate and forgiving. How could God do war, commit war on someone, something? Then when you come to the center, like you see behind me, like we'll do a meditation again, and we've been doing it the last number of weeks. What you see behind you are called the 72 names of God. So when it says God is a man of war, what we've learned, it doesn't mean there's a being out there that's thinking, who do I fight? No. Like you and I, you ever walk in a dark room? You walk in a dark room. How do you fight the darkness? Turn on the light. It's not even really a fight. You turn on the light, what happens? 100% of the time, the light takes away the darkness. And not only does it take away the darkness, but the darkness is replaced with illumination, greater clarity, a greater sense of peace and harmony, because now you can see clearly. So if you need to go get something, it's easy to get. If you need to avoid tripping over something, it's easy to do. In the dark, chaos could ensue, and most likely it does. So that's what it really means. The light of the Creator is our weapon against the darkness. And yes, we have to fight because we want to get rid of all the darkness. So that's what it means, and that's what I've come to understand. For those of you who've learned a little bit, you'll probably hear this you've heard this before. If you're new, now that you're thinking about thinking, if the war is between our ears, the war is in our head. So the root of all our negative thoughts is one simple thing. The Kabbalists like to boil things down to simplicity. In fact, there's a study called the 10 luminous emanations. If you've seen the Tree of Life, if you've seen the logo of the center, it's called the Tree of Life, 10 Sfirot. So there's 16 volumes written to just begin the explanation of those 10 energies. Those 10 energies. But if we think in simple terms, the beginning of this very complicated explanation of how this world came into physicality, it begins with one phrase: the pure, simple light. Light is very simple. We make things complicated. So if we start to think simple, and that's what I want us to come to, the simple root of all of our negative behavior, and in essence, even being willing to listen to those negative thoughts, is called doubt. Doubt. When you have a doubt about a friend, or you have a doubt about a choice, or you have a doubt about something in the world, does it make you feel good? No, you feel bad. But that's the war. The war is what? Doubt, one, about the light force. Because most of us have heard something about God, right? And even we've been learning in the center many years, there's still those thoughts, the residue of those unconscious thoughts, something about God. God is a being. You read the Bible only on its literal level. God is jealous, God is angry, God is vengeful. Yes, God is also loving and kind. But you have a lot of confusion. So one of the main doubts is the doubt in the light force. Is it really powerful? Is it really merciful? Is it really there for us? That's one aspect. And I truly, and this is just my opinion, I don't think there's one of us, a person on earth, that doesn't have somewhere in their mind, some people a little more consciously, some people more unconsciously, that a person has some kind of doubt about the Creator, or probably also something against the Creator for something that happened, maybe when you were young, maybe when you were older, but some traumatic thing happened, and right away the voice of that opponent gets in our head and says, oh, where was God? But you and I have come to learn. God is just, or the Creator, just shines light in this world. And it's shining 24/7. What happens in this world is based upon our actions. Our actions. So there's the second doubt. Do we really have the power of that light force in us? Are we really that powerful? Because what is the opponent? Have you ever made mistakes? Have you ever done foolish things? And maybe you're not living the life you would like to live. And maybe you feel you've been held back in various ways. So the voice says, you have the power of God. You can bless, you can heal, you can create all these things. Look at your life. You haven't done it now. So what makes you think it's going to happen? Another doubt. And then there's the third part of the doubt. So you say to yourself, especially those of us who are really making an effort to apply what we learn in Kabbalah, what we're learning here in the center. So you push yourself, you forgive the unforgivable, you give the charity that was beyond what you've ever given in your life. You forgave, you were tolerant to somebody. You tried to put yourself in their shoes and see from their point of view. You really made that effort to go that extra mile. And then what? What does the opponent do? Look for the instant result. Where's my result? I thought they would apologize. I thought they would forgive me. I thought they would do something nice. I thought if I did this, something great would happen. That's the other part that brings doubt. But if you look at the physical world, not everything happens instantaneously, even in its simple terms. Some of us, some people who are employees, even if you get paid every week, you work a week, then you get paid. So you don't work your first day and say, where's my check? Second day, where's my check? Third day, where's my check? You know you're going to get paid at the end of the week or every 2 weeks. Or not, even if it's a day, you get paid at the end of the day. So every hour you're working, you say, where's my check? Where's my money? No, you know there's a process. Look at nature. You plant even a seed of a flower, whatever it is, 60 days, 90 days, it's still a process. It doesn't happen immediately. Trees can take 3 years to give fruit. So this space is where that opponent gets in there and says, no, let me give you some instant gratification. You give me more of your light, your long-term fulfillment. So we've got to come to fight those doubts, because when we're in the darkness, we cannot see. So then let me give you some tools. What are the tools the Kabbalists give us to win the war? Because remember, and you don't have to believe it, and like we teach in the classes, we don't want you really just to blindly believe what you learn, what you hear, what you read. Test it. Apply it in your life and see how it works. But look to see how it's working. Like we're talking about today, don't look for the instant result. Look at least as you're being more forgiving or more kind or more compassionate or have more gratitude, how it changes your thinking and even that inner sense of greater peace or greater serenity or greater clarity or greater understanding. Look for those results, not on the outside. So the Kabbalists teach us victory over this darkness, victory over the chaos, victory over the opponent. It's guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed it's going to happen. Our job is we can make it happen sooner or later, faster or slower, with more pain and suffering, or with more uncomfortable sharing. That's our choice. That's the free will we've been given. But we have no free will over the ultimate result, because the light will always defeat darkness. Light will always take away the chaos and the darkness and the discord. So when we want to win this war here, so there are certain tools the Kabbalists give us. And remember, these tools are universal. Like the DNA. Every human being on earth has similar DNA, A, T, C, and G. So now the combinations make us look different, etc., things like that, but the essence is the same. In fact, all life has a similar DNA, A, T, C, and G, just different combinations, and so on. So there are tools that just directly reach into our soul, turn on that light, activate the next level. The most powerful is the Zohar. And that's why the word Zohar means splendor, illumination. Because just by, as we meditate, and we'll do it again, as we meditate on the Aramaic words of the Zohar, because the Aramaic letters are just primordial conduits of light. So as you scan them, literally just scan with your eyes, like what you're doing right now, whether you realize it or not, you're scanning some of the 72 names. Light is being awakened inside you, because it's not about being conscious. Yes, consciousness will speed it up, will intensify the energy, but the fact that your eyes, even unconsciously, are looking at those combinations that are emanating different facets of light is awakening light in you. Now you go to the Zohar, which is literally the closest thing on earth to the infinite light of the endless world. And that's why it just wakes up the light inside of us. Then we have the 72 names. Then those of you familiar with what's called the Ana B'Koach, the 42-letter name of God. And then there's the 22-letter name of God. Meaning what? They're different frequencies of the light of the Creator. 21st century, actually in the 20th century, probably even go back, but we became more and more conscious about the food we eat. Why? The different combinations. And I'm not promoting one diet or the other, but just the concept, right? There are some diets that say, oh, you want to be healthy, so you have this much protein, these many carbohydrates, these proportions of minerals. And all the different diets have different proportions. But what are they telling you? I don't make the power in them. Protein has a certain power by its inherent nature. Carbohydrates, et cetera, et cetera. The body, the same thing. It has its inherent operating system. What they've been trying to tell us is how to put the two together, how to put the right nutrients to make the physiology of the body operate, ideally, perfect health, perfect vitality, perfect repair when a person's not well. So if that's true on the physical, how much more on the spiritual? And that's why, in this case, there's not a human being on earth whose light in the soul will not be awakened by these tools. The second frame of that transformation, one, wake up the light. What about how to use the light? Consciousness is everything. So if you've never taken Kabbalah 1, go on Kabbalah.com, take it. If you've taken it, go back and review your classes. Learn Kabbalah as we teach it here, so you're awakening a new awareness, a higher understanding of how to use these tools to intensify the light that you channel. Because that's what we're doing. Yes, we're going to scan, we're going to meditate, scan the Zohar, but then hold the consciousness of channeling that light out to every human being on earth. Every human being. Because that human being, like us, has the infinite light of the Creator inside them. Nobody is devoid of light. People are devoid of expressing the light, letting the light shine and take away their darkness, as we've said today, because of the war in their head. Give me now. Give me instant gratification. That's the war. But once you use the tools and then you learn how to channel it, it will change, because you're going to change your thoughts. That's why they say, God is our shadow. Just like the shadow on the ground. You stick out your left arm, there's a shadow that moves. The shadow doesn't tell you what to do. The shadow just follows you. So in that same way, we are the ones who decide, let the light out or don't let the light out. So we've got to stop allowing ourselves to listen to that opponent that makes us think we are powerless or of very tiny power. So I'll tell you a story. And of course, like most of these stories, they go back a few hundred years. So there were a band of beggars, right, that just went around, begging food, this and that. And along the way, they see, every now and then in these towns, they'd see a righteous person come to town, and of course, everybody, gathering around them, making, a festive meal or something like that. So they all get together and they say, you know what? We should do that too. We're going to impersonate righteous people. And they pick one of the people. They say, you're going to be the righteous person, and we're going to be like your entourage. And we'll go town to town, and you can say nice things, and you can pretend to bless people or whatever, and we'll eat, and then we'll go. Because in those days, there wasn't internet where they could be found or whatever. It was easy to go around and nobody would know, especially in the small towns. So they do this for a while. And they walk in and, they're all looking, oh, master, it's this righteous person. So, of course, everybody's making meals and asking them for help and blessings, whatever. And they go town to town till one time. They come to this one town. And among, yes, all the celebration, these parents bring a little girl. And they beg and they plead with who they think is the righteous man. Please, bless her. She is sick. She is dying. And we know your blessing can heal her. Now what does he do? Now their love and their care started to wake up inside of him. So here, where it was easy for them to take advantage of all the people in all these other villages, all of a sudden, their love woke up the light, the care, the compassion, the desire inside this beggar, this imposter. And the story goes that he surrendered to the Creator, meaning to the light. He opened his heart. He had remorse for what he had been doing, and fooling people along the way. And he could see this girl who needed help, and the eyes of the parents, looking for his help. And he just, as the story would go, he prayed and he opened his heart, and he wanted, in our terms, he just became a pure channel. He took out his negativity. He regretted all the people that he had taken from and fooled and whatever it was. And he really just awakened this love and this care for this little girl. And because of that, she was healed. So when you and I think we're not powerful enough and this and that, we've got to understand, yes, in a certain way, we have also been imposters, but not in the good way. Not necessarily a good way, I guess, but we've been imposters, thinking that we're not as powerful as the Creator gave us the strength to be, that we're less than we really are. We've been imposters that way. It's time to let the real us be expressed. It's time to let out the true us, and then knowing that the light will be our shadow, whatever we do, like this beggar. When he really opened up his heart, he became who the Creator gave him the power to be, somebody who could bring healing. And we can do the same thing. When we have the doubt we can do it, then we block the light. Not that we can't do it, but we block the light that does the healing. When we're praying for people or we want to see people prosperous, we block the light because we don't believe. We let that doubt come in. Oh, how can we do it? But today, isn't it interesting? In the last, 10, 20 years, we've seen people do more. I mean, it's always been one of those stories, rags to riches. You ever heard of rags to riches? What does that mean? Going from nothing to something, almost overnight, right? Or you hear stories, overnight success. So if that's already happening in the physical world, you and I can use that to awaken our certainty against the doubt. And in these last few years, people have fortunes that you could never imagine. $50 billion, $100 billion, $200 billion by one person? There are countries on earth that don't have that much money. So if they can do it, we can do in our level something similar. If there's ever been anybody out there, like we read these stories, that can bless, that can heal, that can give blessings to have children to those who have not been able to, it's an on and on like that. If there are people like that, we can do similar things in our level. The only issue is, are we willing to open ourselves up? Are we willing to surrender to that process? Are we willing to overcome all of our blockages? And so, as we've been given, and we want to remind ourselves, we've been given all the weapons to win the war forever. The war against the darkness, the war against the chaos, the war against our own self-defeating ideas, thoughts, images. So today, as we'll start using these tools, Zohar, 72 names, Ana B'Koach, tithing, sharing, the classes, all these things that will awaken the light and give us greater intensity and greater consistency in the use of these tools. And then we have the consciousness, and we're willing to make the uncomfortable sharing action of replacing hatred with love, intolerance with empathy, judgment with compassion, ego with humility, greed with generosity, fear with trust, jealousy with gratitude. As we all work together and we hold the consciousness of oneness, because there is really only one infinite soul in this world that looks like it's in 8 billion bodies, but it's one. So as we'll work together and we will hold the consciousness and we will draw on the support that's in the soul of all those people, then that real adversary we call the opponent, or the peddler of lies and falsehoods, has no chance. As darkness has no chance in the face of the light, so that opponent has no ability to win the war. It only has the ability to delay our victory, or we have the power to channel the light and remove all the darkness. So let's start making a commitment, repeating to ourselves hundreds of times a day, I am a pure and perfect being of light. I commit myself to behave with greater love, kindness, and compassion to all human beings at all times, because I know God is my shadow. God bless. Not me. So for those of you who are online, you all know, and I just want to thank those of you who have already donated to the Ukraine Zohar project that we have. We've spread, I think, almost 1,000, and we have students who we've already heard miracles happening. Students, one who are able to get to the border where all the conflict is and hand out Zohars. And again, if you don't have one of these, at least one of these, get one, just to carry it with you, put it in the car. It just shines the light of the Creator. What we've been making an effort, hundreds of these sacred Zohars, which is the entire Zohar just in the Aramaic, but shines all that light. Those have been distributed. Still need your help. And therefore, like we do every week, yes, it's a free will offering. All I can ask of you is let's think of the people out there that the center is impacting with the light, because we want, and the center wants all of us to be able to have a sphere of protective light that keeps the darkness away. So if you and I now are expanding that sphere of light, it's keeping the negativity that meanwhile does exist further and further away from us. Like we all must know some people who seem to be in a sort of a bubble of peace and harmony in the midst of all the chaos. So we have the ways and means to do that. But the center, yes, and we're in our 100th anniversary. If you've been looking on Kabbalah.com, this is our 100th year. And so we're going to have some celebration, if you will, of that around the new cosmic year, September, October. But the mission of the center has always been, from its outset 100 years ago and from the lineage of Kabbalists thousands of years before, spread the Zohar, unite the consciousness of love your neighbors yourself through these tools, this wisdom that we're teaching, that whatever your religion is, you can see the similarity, you can see the root of it. We just need your support and your help. If you know people in those areas, Russia, Ukraine, or anywhere in the world that's in conflict and having those kinds of discord, contact us, see what you can do, that we can bring more Zohar, more consciousness out there. The tools of the light will take away darkness and automatically change people's consciousness. So those of you here, if you hold your offering in your hand, those of you online, I put the giving site that you can do afterwards. But let's do our meditation. First on the offering, and then we'll do the meditation on the 72 names. We just want to inject light, love, blessings, and gratitude into our offering, knowing that it's our privilege and our responsibility to all the 8 billion parts of our own soul to bring a light awakening, to bring a transformation through that awakening. As we open up with the light, the heart and soul of us to a greater degree, the world around us to a higher degree, then when the light, as the light inside each of us guide us more and more of the chaos disappears, more of the finite energy of darkness is removed. And the more of us doing more actions, the faster we empty the tank of those negative thoughts, the negative actions, the negative words from the opponent. And the faster we can make the light of unconditional love, peace and harmony be the dominant force in this world. So we send this gift out through the center, through the Zohar Project, the scholarship funds, to bring more people this wisdom, this technology. We have trust and greater certainty that we will be blessed. We will be blessed many times over from our sharing. And together we say, Amen. So what I'd like to do now, for those of you here, now it's on the screen. For those of you online, this is a particular tool, one of the 72 names, Ein Lamed Mem. Just a reminder, the Hebrew or Aramaic letters are not a human construct. They come directly out of the endless world. They're particles or conduits of the light of the Creator, and this combination is to help us eliminate the negative thoughts, to shut down that voice of the opponent, the peddler of lies and falsehoods, that allows the voice of the light, of our soul, of our true self, to be louder, that it's clearer, and it's also empowering us to do those uncomfortable actions of sharing. To remove our darkness, to remove our chaos, and to help us keep our eyes, our mind's eyes, our heart's eyes on the good that the Creator's already set out for each and every one of us. So let the shapes just be engraved in your mind's eye. Now, if I can ask you, sit comfortably in your chairs, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. Just begin taking a few deep breaths. We know that the air is actually the light of the Creator, embodied in that which we call air, oxygen. So we're breathing in the light with the air through our nose. Hold it for a moment. It can infuse from head to toe, and then exhale through the mouth, letting all the blockages, all the tension, all the falsehoods be expelled. Allowing yourself to relax into your pure and perfect light beingness. Just feeling that you're surrounded in the infinite light and unconditional love of the Creator. Reach in your soul. Become more conscious, more aware that our soul is completely filled with light. And strengthen your commitment to let that light shine through every challenge, every obstacle that comes your way, having greater trust and certainty that only the light that we are able to channel into the world, only the light can remove the darkness, the chaos, the separation between people, and the discord forever, and replace that darkness with light, love, the chaos with order, peace, and harmony. And in your mind's eye, allow that sphere of light, that bubble of light that you're in now experiencing more clearly, expand it. So it's encircling your family and friends. Keep letting it expand, encircling all the people in your life. See it activating the light that fills their soul. And let's together, in unity, so we have a collective strength, expand that sphere of light to include everyone, the entire planet. Let's see the light in everyone awakening, reducing the voice of the opponent in them, reducing and overcoming us, all of us, responding reactively to that voice of doubt, fear, illusion. The voice of the light in every person, stronger, louder, clearer. That all of us see the long-term impact of sharing that light, shining it to the heart and soul of every person, emanating it from our heart and soul. Let's envision together peace and harmony. As it exists in the image, the vision of our soul, heaven on earth, peace, unity. Allow that to become our personal vision, giving us more strength, desire, motivation, enthusiasm. To spread the light, shine the light, be the light. Now drawing on the Ein Lamed Mem. Let it flow through the circuitry we've created. Strengthening the power of this framework we've set up. And in our unity, accelerating the removal of darkness, chaos, and the revelation of 8 billion pure light beings living and expressing that pure light. Remember this feeling, remember this vision. Remember your sense of this power and ability. And together we take one more deep breath to anchor it into our heart and soul, and then slowly exhale and open your eyes. Thank you for joining us, those of you online around the world. Have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.